Look at that. Look at all those orbs. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are clearly doing something a little different. I'm going to be moving around a lot to talk to you guys about orbs. I'm going to be walking through what orbs are and how they're created. Because although I'm a psychic, I'm a medium, and I do believe in spirits and kind of all of those things that are metaphysical, I do think orbs are one of those that I'm always questioning. And so today I'm going to see if I can't recreate some orbs in my cameras so that we can figure out if your photos are orbs or if there's something else. Now, if you're new here, please subscribe. My name is Lauren. I teach you guys all about psychic development and metaphysical things. This is our first Halloween video of the month. All the videos this month are going to be Halloween related, and I hope to do this every single year. So I wanted to do something spooky for this video, and orbs are something that people show me a lot. They'll find out that I'm psychic or a medium, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, I have to show you this photo. And then they pull out their phone and they got to show me some photo that they've taken. And I've always been skeptical when it comes to orbs, to be honest. I'm a filmmaker. I was a filmmaker first, photographer. I am currently in my film studio. I went to film school. I learned about cameras. I learned about lighting. I learned about all of this stuff. Now, I'm not saying that orbs are not real. I am just saying that I want you guys to rule out these things first. I want you to be skeptical, to not believe everything that you see. And I want you to be able to understand just honestly how cameras work and how lighting works so that you're not just believing everything you see. But again, that might not always be the case. There might be some photos that you take where it is none of the things that I'm going to show you today. And then we could talk about using our intuition and trying to figure out what it might be. So what are orbs? Orbs are something that people have given a name to things that they see in photos that don't seem to be in that physical reality. They look like balls sometimes, they look like colored lights, they look like kind of smudges, I guess I would say. And so here are some of the videos and photos that you guys sent to me because I asked you guys to send me some orbs so that I can break them down later in the video. So now it's time for me to shatter your hopes and dreams. So I'm going to show you what an orb is not. So I'm going to walk you guys through 3 things that I want you to check when you're looking at a photo and trying to decide if it's an orb or not. And the first thing is called bokeh. Bokeh is basically when lights are super far away and they're out of focus, or a light source. So you can already see this in this image. I brought some little lights on a string. And right now you can sort of see them. Because the background is blurry though, it is sort of making them, they're not in focus. You can see how they're not clear. And they kind of almost are balls of light right now. Basically, this is dependent on the iris in your camera and the shape of that iris. So if the shape of your iris is a circle, then when these go really out of focus, they're going to take on the shape of a circle. It doesn't matter if the lights themselves, like those are actually like little rectangle, I guess you would say lights. I'm just gonna grab them and bring them. Oh, they're hot. So you can see these are like little Christmas lights, actually Halloween lights, but so they're little rectangles. And see how I walk them back here? I'm out of focus. The lights are out of focus. And so they take on a different shape. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw them more out of focus. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this focus ring and I twist it. And this is just to make it more out of focus. Now isn't that beautiful? Let me get it out of the way. You can see in this image how they've turned into sort of circles. They're actually not even circles. You can see in some of them kind of the edges. And again, that's the inside of the iris. So there's some cool cameras out there that have different shaped irises. And so if I were to make these lights out of focus, they might actually take on different shapes. Sometimes you will see lights like this in a photo, but you might not know if it's actual bokeh. And how you can tell is that the rest of the image, or even just the things in that general vicinity, also will be out of focus. So if you could see the pumpkin on this chair as well, then, and you saw these lights, then yeah, it might not be bokeh. But because the rest of everything around it is out of focus, then you're definitely going to know that it is that bokeh. Often I feel like people don't point out bokeh as orbs, because I think in some ways a lot of people know, they've seen enough films to understand, oh, that's a light that's far away. So I don't see that as much with orb photos. So the next one I see a ton with orb photos, and those are lens flares. And basically lens flares are when a light is shining into the camera and it's reflecting off the glass inside the lens of the camera. And then what happens is it films the reflection inside the camera, if that makes sense. Now this, again, is also a super desirable thing. When I actually film weddings and do photography, I try to get lens flares sometimes because they just end up making the photo look really pretty. So how do you know if it's a lens flare? One of the ways that you can tell is that if you start to move your camera, the orb also moves as well. And so that's because that light is hitting, you're moving the lens, and therefore the light is moving within inside that lens. Another way you can also tell is because of the color. The color has to be the same as the light source. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes it's a dead giveaway. Okay, so this light is not very bright, but we're gonna see if it works. Oh, I think it's already working. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shine my light right at the camera, and look at that. Do you see that orb that's flying around my chest? So you can see how tiny that orb is, and that's probably because this light is not super powerful, so there's not much of a reflection going on. But you can see as I move my phone, so moves the light. And so pretend this is stationary, and I'll move the camera. See how that orb moves? And it even changes its shape. And again, it's because that light is hitting inside the glass a lot differently. In film school, we called that Michael Baying. Because Michael Bay notoriously has way too many lens flares in his movies. So let me try it with a different light, just to give you guys a more full effect. I'm just gonna use my ring light here. Oh, shit. So this one actually is giving a different effect, but it's still a good example. So see how I move this light? There's a little bit of like light fogginess or whatever kind of coming off of the sides of it. Now see if I moved it off to the side completely, you might think there's something misty and smoky over here, but really it's just the corner of this. And you can kind of see it right here too. Woo, look at that. That's cool. So again, it could totally be an orb, or it could be your light. I think because my ring light is shaped so funky, that's not the best example, but I'm gonna turn this guy around. So this is a really powerful light, and I'm gonna shine it straight into this lens. I should be wearing gloves. Do not do this without gloves. Okay, so now I'm gonna slowly turn this towards that camera. Look at that. Look at all those orbs. They're so colorful too, I love them. It's like blue, green, orange. And I'm pretty sure that's something within the lens that causes those colors. So if the light source is moving, you definitely know that it's a lens flare. And then if the camera moves as well. Look at that. Ooh, it's so cool. So can you see that corner here? The corner of this lens right over here. Right here. You see how it kind of has a shape of a lens? Also how you know. If you're wondering what those reflections look like, so you can see how that's the light. You can see my light right here. You can see all the little versions of it reflecting on the layers of glass. So that is what it's filming on the inside. That creates all those little orbs. Now the last culprit of lens flares can be dirt, dust, water, and hair. Now let's start with hair, because that one seems to be the most prevalent, especially in my lives. You guys will see. You'll be like, oh, there's an orb floating by you, and but usually it's not. Usually it's my own like cat hair coming off my clothes as I move. And the thing is I have a bright light source in front of me, just like I do here, and the hair is illuminated. See how like naturally my hand is closer to the lens right now, so it's naturally brighter because it's closer to the light. I apologize. And so as a hair comes through, it might not work, but I mean you can see that hair pretty well. The light catches that hair and you're able to see it a lot better because it's like lit up, and anything closer to the lens is going to be larger. See how big my head is right now? Now see how big my hand is? My hand is not bigger than my head, but the closer you move towards the camera, the bigger an object appears. So again, if a little piece of hair comes across the camera, you're gonna see it, especially if it's lit up. How I'm gonna show you guys hair. I brought my dog's blanket here. I have a husky. It is covered in hair. Oh my gosh, this thing is so gross. Like, I purposely didn't wash it. See all that? See all that floating around? Oof, that was a good one. Oh my God, I regret this. Oh my gosh, now I'm just like covered in hair. And again, those might not appear as much, especially if your light is not super bright. So one of the things you can definitely ask yourself is, was this photo taken somewhere very dusty? Was there cat hair possibly flying around? You can really tell in videos when this is happening. It's a little harder to see in a photo, but if you can tell that there was a flash on the camera, it might be likely. Now, the last thing that I want to show you guys oh God, I swallowed one. So the last thing that I want to show you guys is like dirt, water, like grossness on the lens. And how you can tell that that is happening is because if you take a sequence of photos and there's the same orb in the same spot, then it's probably that you had something stuck to your camera lens. And it's because it's in the same spot, that's how you can tell. So I'm gonna get some water and try to like smudge up this lens, and hopefully we'll be able to recreate it. Let's see. All right, how do I do this without destroying shit? I don't want to get the rest of the camera wet. Okay. Oh, perfect. Yes, okay. Look guys, instant orbs. So I just squirted that sucker. Look at that. So I've got perfect little water droplets there. And another way you can tell too is because when you move the camera, they also stay in the same place. So that's water. The same, if you had dirt on it, it'd cause the same effect. So I'm not gonna go out there and get dirt. I am gonna clean this sucker off though. I'm having so much fun making this. All right, so let's say that you've done all three of those things. You've looked at your photo and you're like, Lauren, I still think it's not any of those. Awesome. Then at that point, what we can do is use our intuitive abilities to try to figure out what it is. Because trying to use your analytical mind or, look at the photo and try to analytically guess what it is probably won't get you very far. Especially because things like color and size and stuff like that doesn't always mean the same thing. Just because it's pink doesn't necessarily mean it's an angel. And so what we want to do is connect with that photo and say, or video, and connect with the energy that was there and say, who are you? And if you don't want to connect with that energy, you can connect with your guides and say, guides, what is this in that photo? And then you can use your psychic abilities to get an answer. And this is why I'm always preaching that if you understand how your clairs work and how to receive information psychically, all you need to do is ask a question and receive, and then you have an answer. One thing I will say about orbs is that sometimes I think that people want to take them in order to prove that there is something there. And honestly, I think inherently there's an issue there. If you're trying to prove to somebody this is real, those aren't the people you should be trying to prove it to anyway. And so I think that inherently the idea of going out and trying to take photos to elicit or change someone's mind or elicit an opinion from somebody else is probably just not how you should be going about it anyway. Just like my channel, I don't stand here trying to convince anybody of what I do. I just talk to the people that I know believe in it, if that makes sense. And sometimes I think that orbs can kind of get into that, and that's why some people scoff at them so much, is because they don't want to be told that something is there that is probably not there. So instead what you can do is say, I feel like my grandma was in this photo. This might not actually be her, but I feel like that was the case. Another thing with, spirit too, is that it is really not physical. And when you try to prove something non-physical with something physical, I just feel like it never works. Maybe that's just me, but I just feel like I would rather sit here and try to prove it with my psychic abilities than with equipment. But that's me personally. I have nothing against people that do it. To me, it's just have good intentions behind it. If you're doing it, do it for fun, and also remember to use your psychic abilities alongside so that you can try to guess what's there. So let's go through some of the videos that you guys sent me. Now I did blur out some of the faces in these images because I just wanted to protect you guys, but thank you so much for sending them in. They are like literally perfect examples. So here's the first photo that one of you guys sent me. Now I want you guys to pause here and try to guess using what I just taught you to try to figure out what this little red light in the corner is. Now, if you guessed lens flare, you are probably right. And how I immediately saw this one was, okay, we have clearly got across the room a little red light. So a light is being directed straight at the camera. Even if this is a cell phone, this can still happen. And so that light is coming straight at the camera and it's reflecting. And there is a light that is about the same color. And it looks like kind of like the shape of a lens flare. And the fact that it's all like faded on the edges, that to me says it's very faint, it's very far away. It's a very weak light source, kind of like how before when I was using my phone. So definitely I would say that that one is a lens flare. Now this one, I'm so glad you guys sent this one in because this is a perfect example. So also let me know what you think this one is. I bet you guys are pretty smart about it by now. So if you guessed lens flare, you are absolutely right. Again, we have a light source, aka the moon, and it's coming straight into the camera again. And how you can tell, the moon is not moving, but the camera is. And so as you see the natural shake of the hand, you can see that orb sort of move along with it. So again, remember, it's that light is coming into the camera, it's bouncing within the lens itself, and then you're filming that reflection. Okay, so what about this one? Try to guess. Now, if you caught it, there's actually two things going on here. So one, on the side, you have kind of like a side light coming in. You remember before when I was moving that ring light and how we kind of got like a little bit of a haze coming in? So there's definitely like a light, like right almost there. Now, the blue spot in the lower corner, I'm also guessing that that is a lens flare because of its color and because of its shape. It is like a perfect circle. Definitely not a bokeh because there's not a light right there and everything else is in focus. I'm not exactly sure where the source of that light is coming from, but again, it's probably a reflection of some sort of light. Okay, so here is another video sent from you guys. Now, this one is a little bit hard to see, so I'll play it once through, and if you can't see it, I'm gonna play it again and slow it down. Did you guys guess that one? Now, how I figured this one out was it was pretty easy to see that there was a flash on the camera, like a light was on. You can see that whenever the people get closer to the camera, it gets a little bit brighter. And then you can also see because the cat's eyes are reflecting. And we know when we shine a light at a cat's eyes, you kind of get that reflection going on. Now, because of the movement, I think it's a cat hair because it's fast, it's close to the camera, it's illuminated by that front light. It's not attached to the lens, it's moving independently even though the camera is not moving. And everything is in focus. So that's why I think that one is a cat hair. Okay, now this one honestly has me stumped. So I'm gonna show you guys this one. Now it's obviously not bokeh because it's not the shape of an iris on the inside of a camera. Although we have a flash going on, like it almost looks like it's raining possibly, and there's a flash and you can see somebody's like hand or something in the photo. But there's not really a distinct light source otherwise. You're outside, so there's not a whole lot of light that can be super bright necessarily to hit the camera and cause a reflection unless you're aiming your phone straight at the sun. So definitely not thinking this is a lens flare. Again, it's like the shape. Also not dust. I don't know. This one kind of freaks me out. And I know that the person that sent this to me is pretty like, she's trustworthy. I don't feel like, but it looks photoshopped. Like to me, this looks photoshopped. Like I clearly see a person maybe the other direction, and they kind of have this faint glow around them. And that's what's weird, is the glow, because there's nothing else around it that's glowing. And that's, whenever you look at lights, you know, how you can tell something is photoshopped is if the lighting is different. And so that's what's making me feel like it's photoshopped, is because it's the light. Again, I trust this person. I really don't think it's photoshopped. I think it's just weird. It's weird. So at this point, we've ruled out everything. So we can use our intuition and ask our guides, hey, what is this thing in the back of the picture? Now, I already did this when I was looking at it, and I actually felt like it was somebody actually standing there. And maybe the camera taker did not realize that that person was there. And maybe they walked off and they just had no idea. So I actually feel like this is really a person standing there. That was intuitively what I was getting. I'm also equally on the fence about it being possibly Photoshopped. So I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think it is? Now, even if one of these things in your images is one of the things that I described, a lens flare, bokeh, or dust or dirt or something like that, that does not mean that there's nothing there. If you 100% with all of your gut, or maybe just even a little bit, believe that there was something there, there could have been. You know, if you look at something and really believe that, you could just be sensing the energy there. You could be sensing that there was something there. It just might not have been that lens flare. And that was just you trying to like capture it, because that was the only way you knew how to try to capture that moment instead of using your psychic ability. So I'm definitely not saying that if you 100% believe it, it's not there, because I absolutely will always trust your intuition when you say this. So whenever somebody shows me an orb picture, now what I say is, who do you think it was, or who do you think is there? And usually I trust their opinion, their gut feeling, more than I do whatever is in the image. Because usually, even if they got the lens flare, they took that as confirmation of, oh, this was this person. But I think that in some way they probably were connecting intuitively with something. And I think it's super important to encourage those intuitive hits so that we can keep having them more and have them be more reliable. Alrighty, you guys, let me know what you thought of this video. It's kind of messy and all over the place, but I had so much fun making it. I hope you learned a little bit about photography and filmmaking and cameras and lights at the same time. And if you want to share your orb photos, maybe jump into my Facebook group and share it there, and we can all practice reading it with our psychic abilities. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. I'm going to have more Halloween spooky videos coming your way this month, so I'm very excited. If you're not already subscribed, please do. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.